It's a pleasure to be here. Marco, you were so generous to allocate me 15 minutes. That feels like eternity in digital time, so I thought I'd give you 3 speeches for the price of 1. So you get 5 minutes each, 3 speeches. My first speech will be about a near-death experience. The second speech will be about the future of classified business. And the third speech will be about the most valuable resource of our business. So let me start with speech number 1, and that's about the near-death experience that Axel Springer went through. Axel Springer, the print newspaper magazine company that Marco was talking about. That's how the press saw us in 2000, Europe's largest press conglomerate, a mere internet midget. At least they have a strategy now. Actually, they were wrong. We didn't have a strategy back then. Axel Springer back then was 15,000 people. First, in 2001, made its first ever loss in history, 200 million net loss. We had to cut our workforce from 15,000 to 8,000 people. And circulation of our newspapers halved over the following 10 to 12 years. Printed classified revenue dropped 70% over the next 6 years, and we were obviously not alone in going through this. So what do you do when you're in such a situation? And all the people who are working in that business had grown up in the print business, in the paper business. They had no clue what to do in the beginning. And so actually, why was the print business for such a long time such a great business? Because it was a great business. Well, it actually had a fantastic advantage. We could sell the same product 3 times in print days. We could sell the journalistic content to our readers. We then turned around, sold our readers to the advertisers, second business, and then the third business, we had classified. We sold classified listings businesses to the readers and to the private and to the agents and jobs and so on, and car companies who were looking to sell cars, find new people, or to sell an apartment. And so this was a fantastic business, but if you step back and try to understand why in the world are these businesses linked together? Why is the news about the next thing Cameron is doing in the British government linked to the next advertising of Coca-Cola or selling your flat in London? These businesses have strictly nothing in common, but they were tied together through the paper. So what we decided is we are obviously not merchants of paper. We are merchants of journalism, merchants of advertising, and merchants of classified businesses. And these are the 3 businesses that then Axel Springer decided to pursue in the digital world independently from each other. And it sounds very easy, but the first and foremost thing you have to do when you come to this conclusion is to be brutally honest to yourself. Once an industry is in decline and under structural attack, it will never go up again. And that's how, imagine that for your business. You realize, Jesus, I am in an industry that is about to die. So the only way you can survive it is if you cannibalize yourself. And if you do it better than the ones that come from the outside who want to eat your lunch are able to do that. So we set out to acquire a lot of companies because we realized we can't do it all by ourselves. And in 2006, that's only 9 years ago, Axel Springer was a 3 billion revenue company, had 1% of its sales and 1% of its profit in the digital space. Now, and that is how we then developed since 2006. Now, over 60% of our revenue and over 75% of our EBITDA comes from the digital world. So we are no longer a print company, but we are a digital company that is operating in 3 businesses. That is producing journalistic content, selling it to readers and also the audiences to advertisers, having independent advertising business models, and also to have obviously classified business models. And these businesses strive. They are not dead at all. They are just not linked with the paper anymore. They will be linked in the future again if we are smart enough through data. That will be the new paper in a way, bringing these businesses back together. But for the time being, they all grow independently from each other. And we have mainly managed to do this through over 80 acquisitions. And roughly half of our profit comes from the acquired companies with the profit they had then, and half of that profit has been added since we managed to grow these companies. So that's in 5 minutes the story of the turnaround of Axel Springer. And unfortunately, I can also predict you at the same time that not all print companies will survive the next 10 to 20 years. To the contrary, there will be many who probably will not manage to make this transition, and we hopefully will be among the ones that continuously will make it. 2/3, and I'm coming to the next, sorry, it's fast, 2/3 of that business comes from classified, our digital classified businesses. Axel Springer is now operating 11 brands in over 20 markets in the biggest fields of classified advertising: job classified, real estate classified, car classified, and general classified. We own brands, market-leading brands such as Sologer in France, Immoweb in Belgium, Immowelt in Germany, Jadstein in Israel, Stepstone in Germany, and a lot of other markets, Total Jobs, Job Sites in UK, Sound Group in Ireland, just to name a few. And they are all working very nicely. And I would like to share with you 4 thoughts about our classified business. First of all, classified businesses has been one of the longest standing high growth, high margin business in the internet, and actually has been for a long time a very simple business. The managing director of our job business here always said, I'm operating an outbound call center with an associated website. That's how principally easy the business was. If you have demand and you fill it with enough supply, then these platforms work. And that has been going on for very long already, in digital terms for very long, for 10, 15 years now, with the capability to grow both prices and margins significantly. And why is that so? Because the value these businesses are providing to the person who wants to sell a house or buy a house, who's looking for a job or is looking for an employee, who wants to buy a car, is incredibly high. And despite annual price increases that these businesses can drive of 15, 20%, the value to the person who finds a new job, the value to the person who hires a great employee is significantly higher than the price that is currently paid in these classified businesses. And that's why it is so successful. And therefore, classified businesses can have a great future because they're just scratching the surface of what they can achieve. And I predict that these businesses will grow into much more of a transactional businesses rather than just a business that is matching supply and demand on a platform. They have the opportunity to grow much more in the transactional businesses, in the multi-billion dollar recruitment industry, in the multi-billion dollar real estate industry, and the multi-billion dollar car industry. However, classifieds have to do a much better job than today in how they match supply and demand, because it's a very simple, in most cases, a very simple business still. It is just a simple search algorithm. Some have a little bit better UIs than others, but mostly it's a very simple search algorithm that the person who wants to look for a job, wants to look for a flat, wants to look for a car, has to go through. And therefore, these businesses will become, in order to grow in the future, will have to invest a lot in technology. We will have to come up with much smarter matching algorithms than we do today, so that we can predict the right matches between an employer and a future employee, between a house and a potential buyer, in order to truly grow. And because this industry has been so successful in growing, it obviously attracts a lot of new money and a lot of new startups that are sometimes already going into the transactional space. So we will face a lot of new competition. One of the biggest competitions the classified businesses will face, it's probably no surprise, will be Facebook. Facebook is already used in several markets as a platform for classified content. For example, in Israel, our real estate platform is the largest real estate platform. It's called Yad Stein. There's a Facebook group that created itself virally that says, find the house before it appears on Yad Stein. And so there they try to attract all the flats and the apartments before they actually are put on Yad Stein. And with Facebook now moving into the capability to buy and sell, to create marketplaces, this obviously will be the next competition for the classified businesses, and it won't be as easy in the past. So I predict also that not all of the classified businesses that are around today and that have a solid position today will be able to grow as fast and as quickly as they did in the past, because the competition is clearly picking up, because again, there is so much money to be made in this business. So who will make and how can we make the difference, especially as a big corporation? Well, I think the companies will make the difference who have the best founders and the best management teams. Our philosophy has been, when we started to move from the print business and the digital businesses, to try to keep the founders as long as possible, as incentivized as possible, or the management that we acquired with the companies when the founders had already left the business on board. And we have managed to keep over 60% of all of our founders active and involved in the business until today, even if the first acquisitions have already taken place 9 or 10 years ago. And how did we do that? Well, this is how we did it. Oh no. This is not how we did it. This is how we did it. The founder squeezing the headquarter. Well, it is very easy how we did it. The word integration of a company you acquire means death penalty. If a big company wants to acquire a company and integrate it, just can write it off. The next worst pain you can inflict on a fast-growing startup company is synergies. This is not a death penalty, but it's like almost lifelong jail term. So what we set out to do is to leave the companies as independent as possible and to only create networks of exchange, know-how, practices, and then later on, sometimes if there was enough demand, also some synergies, for instance, in recruiting, in IT services or other. But as long as a company is growing 20%, 30%, 40% a year, and there is no such thing as synergies. So we have tried as much as possible to stay away from it, and actually it sounds very easy, but if you have a big company where everybody is sitting on a sinking ship, and you build new, beautiful, growing ships next door, everybody wants to jump ship and go on this ship. And it's one of the main tasks of senior management to avoid that happening. And we have been actually pretty successful at doing that. And I hope we'll be able, and I'm running out of time with my 3 speeches, hopefully we will be able to do that in the future, because if that's the case, then the old print business and the new digital business can walk hand in hand, either into the sunset or the sunrise. That depends on it how we manage the future. Thank you very much.